In 1992, Mortal Kombat didn't just show up in arcades, it kicked the door down and took over the place. 7 fighters, each with their own look, style, and moves that felt completely unhinged compared to everything else on the market. And they weren't cartoons or pixel mosh either. These were digitized actors, real bodies, real faces, real martial arts, all stuffed into a cabinet and unleashed on unsuspecting kids with pocket change. 3 years later, Hollywood looked at all that chaos and said, yeah, we can do that. So today, I'm checking how well the movie understood the fighters. Not just the costumes or the special moves, but the actual soul of each character. What they were built to do, what they represent, and why people kept pumping quarters into the machine like their lives depended on it.
Liu Kang.
While Scorpion was dragging people across the screen and Sub-Zero was ripping out spines, Liu Kang showed up with a fireball and a flying kick. That's it. No teleport, no gimmick, no holy crap, look at that special move. Bruce Lee filtered through a Midway arcade cabinet. Everything about him, the look, the moveset, even the fatality, tells you exactly who the hero is supposed to be. Look at this finisher, a flip kick and an uppercut. Compared to Kano's or Scorpion's, that's almost polite. Liu Kang is the one fighter in the game who never really goes dark, and that is not an accident. The movie got him better than anybody else on the roster. Robin Shou was a former Hong Kong stuntman that had worked with Jackie Chan, so he wasn't just playing Liu Kang, he was helping shape how Liu Kang moved. He pushed for Hong Kong-style wire work in a Hollywood movie, and director Paul W.S. Anderson later said Mortal Kombat was one of the first American productions to use it properly. Years before The Matrix took it to another level, this movie was already doing the groundwork. Shou wasn't approximating Liu Kang, he was translating him. The film also gives him a dead brother, something the game never did. In the arcade, Liu Kang's bio is pretty bare bones. Former White Lotus Society, Shaolin representative, hates Shang Tsung. No tragic family history, no extra emotional baggage, no backstory sermon. But the movie's addition doesn't break him. If anything, it fits. The guy still wins through discipline. He doesn't brutalize anybody. He stays the cleanest, most heroic character in the whole movie right up to the final frame. One thing worth pointing out though, Liu Kang uses the bicycle kick against Reptile. That move didn't show up until Mortal Kombat 2, so clearly the filmmakers weren't just cherry-picking from the first game. They were grabbing whatever the franchise gave them if it made the fight better. And that's why Liu Kang works. Not because they copied the game beat for beat, but because they understood what the game was trying to say about him.
Johnny Cage.
If you played Mortal Kombat in the arcade, you already know exactly what Johnny Cage was. He was the guy you picked when you wanted to look cool. Shirtless, black shorts, red sash, sunglasses, movie star attitude, and a move where he drops into the splits and punches you somewhere you absolutely do not want to be punched. His moveset is pure showmanship. The green energy bolt, the shadow kick, and that split punch, which in 1992 was somehow the funniest and most devastating thing in the game at the same time. Johnny Cage wasn't just a fighter, he was a statement. Hollywood martial arts is real, and he was here to prove it by rearranging your lower anatomy. Here's the part some people still don't know. Johnny Cage was designed around Jean-Claude Van Damme, specifically his Bloodsport era. The splits, the flashy kicks, the action star swagger, all of it. Midway basically made him for Van Damme. Then when the movie came around, they offered him the role. He turned it down because he was busy playing Guile in 1994's Street Fighter film. It's the ultimate betrayal and a bizarre bit of history. The man who inspired the face of Mortal Kombat jumped ship to lead the franchise's biggest rival. But Lyndon Ashby nailed it anyway. He trained in karate, taekwondo, and kung fu specifically for the role. And he understood that Johnny Cage isn't just about the moves, it's about the attitude. He needs to be cocky enough to annoy you, but not so cocky that you stop believing he can actually back it up. The Johnny Cage vs. Scorpion fight is one of the best sequences in the whole film. The acrobatics, the pacing, the set design. This is the stuff fans actually came to see. And the signed photo that falls at the end is a direct nod to his friendship from Mortal Kombat 2. That is not a random detail. Somebody on that production was paying attention. The one real miss is the fatality. Cage rips off his opponent's head with an uppercut. The movie couldn't go there because of the rating, so Scorpion just explodes instead. That's not a creative failure, that's just the PG-13 fans doing what it does best. Johnny Cage is the character the movie has the most fun with, and honestly, that's exactly what he was in the arcade too.
Sonya.
The only woman on the Mortal Kombat roster. Arcade Sonya looks like she just stepped out of a 90s aerobics video. Green leotard, headband, white shoes, ready to kick ass and take names. And before we even get to the movie, we need to talk about what she actually was in the arcade, because this part gets glossed over way too often. Sonya is a grappler. Her defining move isn't a projectile or a teleport, it's the leg grab. She wraps her legs around her opponents and slams them into the ground. In 1992, that was wild. Her energy rings give her range. The square wave punch closes distance, but the leg grab is what makes her Sonya. She fights like a special forces officer should fight, efficient, physical, and up close where she can make it hurt. And then there's her fatality, the kiss that disintegrates her opponent. That is either the most dismissive finishing move in fighting game history or the most confident, probably both. Cameron Diaz was originally cast as Sonya Blade, but she broke her wrist during training and had to leave. Bridget Wilson stepped in, trained every day she wasn't on camera, and did all her own stunts. And she sells the character. When Sonya finally kills Kano, she doesn't do it with a weapon or with backup. She wraps her legs around his neck and snaps it. The guy she's been chasing across the world gets finished by her most iconic move. That is a great payoff. Bridget Wilson plays her as hard-edged, no-nonsense, and completely believable. The attitude is there all the way through. Then the movie kneecaps her. Shang Tsung kidnaps her, chains her up in Outworld, and suddenly she's waiting around while Liu Kang fights her battle for her. That's straight out of Mortal Kombat 2, where she and Kano are both captured. So yes, it was intentional, but intention doesn't automatically make it satisfying when you just had your best moment and then got turned into a hostage.
Raiden.
Right away, Raiden's situation in this video is different from everybody else's. Other fighters get graded on costume accuracy, move translation, or lore fidelity. Raiden gets graded on something harder. Did the movie actually understand what this character is supposed to be? In the arcade, Raiden is surprisingly aggressive for a god. The lightning bolt comes out fast. The torpedo launches him across the screen like Superman. He teleports behind you before you even know what happened. His fatality sends a charge through his opponent's skull until it explodes. For the God of Thunder, he fights like somebody who genuinely enjoys the job. And his arcade bio is almost casual about it. He's possibly a deity who took human form just to enter the tournament. He just shows up and nobody has the nerve to tell him no. That version of Raiden is a combatant, plain and simple. He earns his victories one round at a time. The movie makes a very different choice. Christopher Lambert's Raiden doesn't compete. He watches, guides, and steps in just enough to keep his chosen fighters alive without breaking the rules. Less aggressive Thunder God, more chess player who already knows how the game ends, but can't move the pieces himself. And that actually works. A fighting game gives you a roster of equals. Everybody on that select screen is playing by the same rules. 2 rounds, same health bar, same timer. Raiden being divine doesn't mean much when Kano can still throw a knife at his face and win the round. The game needs him to be a fighter, so he is one. Cinema works differently. If Raiden can intervene whenever he wants, the audience immediately asks why he doesn't just solve the whole thing himself. The movie's answer is simple and elegant. He can't. Tournament rules bind him, and being a god makes him less free, not more. Lambert plays him with this dry, amused detachment, like somebody who's watched humanity make the same stupid mistakes for centuries. The arcade version of Raiden never had much personality beyond Thunder God. The movie gave him one. That interpretation ended up lasting long enough that the franchise basically absorbed it. The games became the movie's Raiden, not the other way around. One production detail worth knowing. When the budget ran out, the studio couldn't even afford to fly Lambert to Thailand. He paid for his own trip so the film could get the extra scenes the filmmakers wanted. And then he covered the wrap party for the entire cast and crew when the money was completely gone. The game gave him a lightning bolt. The movie gave him a reason to care. For 90 minutes of cinema, that's the better trade.
Kano,
Black Dragon crime boss, mercenary, thug, extortionist. In other words, a walking HR violation. The arcade bio doesn't soften it either. This man is a career criminal, and he is proud of it. In the arcade, Kano is a real threat. The knife throw keeps you honest at range. The cannonball tackle crosses the screen fast, and his fatality is one of the most notorious in the whole game. He reaches into his opponent's chest and pulls out a steel-beating heart. The look is simple but effective. A metal plate on his face and a cybernetic eye. In the original game, he's coded as an American raised in Japan, and he was played by digitized actor Richard Divisio. And then Trevor Goddard walked into the audition. Goddard was English, born in Croydon. Before acting, he was a professional boxer with 55 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. A former light heavyweight who knew exactly how to make a threat feel real. When he stepped into Kano, something came out of him that nobody on set could quite pin down. It wasn't American or quite British. It was somewhere in the vicinity of Australian, and the producers just rolled with it. That accent was so memorable that Midway took notice. Kano started picking up Australian references in Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe.
You don't look so good, mate.
And by Mortal Kombat X, his origin was officially locked in as Australian. A guy from Croydon accidentally rewrote years of franchise canon. Now for the fidelity problems. Shang Tsung's own screenplay describes Kano as a disreputable-looking cretin, which is basically the movie telling you what it thinks of him. Not as a feared crime boss, but as a useful embarrassment who flinches when Goro raises his voice. And the hard rip doesn't appear. Sonya kills him, and while her leg snap is satisfying, one of the most infamous finishers in Mortal Kombat history just disappears. Trevor Goddard died in 2003 at only 40 years old. Kano is Australian because of him. 30 years of games, spin-offs, and reboots exist thanks to a boxer who never quite got his due while he was here.
Scorpion,
Just look at that design. a yellow and black ninja with no name and no confirmed origin. The arcade bio is almost annoyingly vague. His true identity is unknown, his clan is unknown, and the only thing the game is really willing to tell you is that he hates Sub-Zero with a passion. And somehow, 2 special moves and 3 words turn him into one of the most iconic characters ever put on a screen. The spear is everything. Back, low punch, and suddenly a kunai on a rope shoots across the screen, catches your opponent, and yanks them right into your fist.
Get over here!
Then there's the teleport punch, which lets him vanish and reappear before you can even react. And the fatality. He pulls off the mask, reveals a skull, and cremates his opponent. Here's the part that's easy to miss about Scorpion's arcade ending. It gives you no real resolution. He was murdered by Sub-Zero, came back from death to compete, and even when he wins, nothing is actually resolved. He's basically a wronged spirit chasing an answer the game never lets him reach. That isn't a gap in the writing. That is the writing. The suit is fantastic. Chris Casamassa was originally hired as a background fighter, just a stuntman filling out crowd scenes. But during his demo, he moved so well that the producers handed him the role, and it shows. Every moment feels like somebody who understood Scorpion inside and out. The spear got redesigned for the movie. In the game, it's a traditional ninja weapon. In the film, it becomes a living snake-like thing shooting out of a slit in his palm, meant to capture that same in-game feeling, that weird supernatural way it homes in on the target. And honestly, it works. It's an interpretation, not a copy. The fight still holds up decades later. Get Over Here lands exactly where it should, and Ed Boon, co-creator of the game, personally voiced Scorpion, which is a perfect little detail, because the guy who invented the character was the guy saying the line. So what does the film miss? The whole reason Scorpion exists. He and Sub-Zero are framed as mindless servants under Shang Tsung's control. The specific personal history between them, the fact that Sub-Zero killed Scorpion and Scorpion came back from the dead looking for revenge, is stripped away. They don't even acknowledge each other. They're in the same movie and still feel like strangers. The moves are there, the suit is there, even the voice is there, but the soul of Scorpion got left behind.
Sub-Zero.
Everything Scorpion is, Sub-Zero is the other side of it. Where Scorpion is fury and unresolved rage, Sub-Zero is cold, calculated, and patient. His arcade bio is just as bare bones. Lin Kuei assassin, identity unknown, sent to the tournament to eliminate Shang Tsung. He isn't there for glory or revenge. He has orders, and he's there to carry them out. Mechanically, he mirrors Scorpion in the best way. Where Scorpion pulls you in, Sub-Zero stops you dead. The freeze is one of the most satisfying moves in the game. The slide closes distance low and fast, slipping under projectiles. Together, they make a fighter built around control. And then there's that fatality. Sub-Zero reaches into the back of his opponent's neck and pulls out the entire spine, skull still attached. That move is one of the reasons the Entertainment Software Ratings Board exists. Senator Joseph Lieberman cited it specifically in congressional hearings. One finisher helped change the whole industry's approach to content ratings. The movie's Sub-Zero, played by Francois Petit, looks the part. The suit is accurate enough, and his powers work exactly the way they should. He freezes Sonya's gun barrel and snaps it off barehanded, which is cold, efficient, and completely on character. His death is actually one of the smarter action beats in the movie. Liu Kang throws water at him. Sub-Zero's own power reacts. The water freezes in mid-air into an ice spear, and it impales him. That's a genuinely clever use of his abilities, and the game never did anything that creative with him in 1992. Credit where it's due. Petit was working behind the scenes for most of the production, which limited how much screen time he got. The result is a character who feels more like a visual than a presence. No dialogue, no arc, no identity beyond ice powers, and works for Shang Tsung. And the real missing piece is the rivalry. Sub-Zero matters in this franchise because of Scorpion. Because he killed Scorpion, and Scorpion came back from the dead looking for revenge. Every time they're in the same space, that history should be crackling. In the movie, they're on the same boat. They're standing near each other, and nothing happens. The game built two fighters whose identities only fully make sense in contrast to each other. Fire and ice, aggression and restraint, death and what comes back from it. The movie puts them in the same scenes and gives them nothing to exchange. Both are gone before the second act is over. 4 arms, half human, half dragon. Prince of the Shao Kahn. Goro wasn't just a difficult opponent, he was a statement. He was the moment Mortal Kombat stopped being just a tournament fighter and became something bigger, meaner, and way more memorable. 2,000 years old and undefeated champion for 500 years. The game doesn't build to Goro slowly. It drops him on you after you've already cleared the whole roster and thinks you're ready for this problem. And he is a problem. 4 arms that hit harder than anything else in the game, a projectile that comes out fast, and a ground stomp that shakes the whole screen. The easiest way to beat Goro in the arcade was to refuse to play his game. Keep your distance. Use ranged attacks. Make him come to you. The player who figured that out got to move on and fight Shang Tsung. The movie went all in on the practical side of him. Not CGI, not quite a man in a suit, an animatronic monster, $1 million to build, about 8 feet tall, and operated by multiple people at once. The operator inside could only stay in there for 2 minutes before the oxygen ran out, so every shot of Goro had to be built around that limitation. Anderson had to plan every angle, every moment, every movement, every exchange around how long a human being can function without enough air. And Goro broke down constantly, which is why his screen time was cut so hard. Every scene you see is basically what survived the technical chaos. What Anderson did with those limitations is what the game teaches you to do with the character. Work around the problem instead of charging straight into it. Wide lenses to sell the scale. Slow, deliberate movements instead of fast ones. Let the brute physicality do the work. And then he gave the fight to Johnny Cage. Not Liu Kang, not Raiden, Johnny Cage. The guy everybody had been underestimating is the one who faces Goro. And he doesn't beat him by overpowering him, he beats him by thinking. A low blow to distract him, the environment to finish him, and suddenly Goro goes off a cliff. Not because Cage was stronger, but because he was smarter. $1 million puppet taken down by a man in sunglasses using a groin punch and a cliff. That is Mortal Kombat. The host, the sorcerer, the man who ends every fight with "Your soul is mine." In the arcade, Shang Tsung is an old man. Long white hair and mustache, flowing robes. He looks like he should be handing out cryptic wisdom on a mountaintop, not running a death tournament. His real danger isn't physical, it's the morph. He can become any fighter on the roster with all their moves. This is not that man. This is Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, physically commanding, radiating the kind of controlled menace that makes every scene feel like a negotiation you're already losing. He was the filmmaker's first and only choice. He showed up to the audition already in costume, delivered his lines while standing on a chair, and basically forced everybody in the room to look up at him. The age question matters too. In Mortal Kombat, he's ancient. In Mortal Kombat 2, Shao Kahn de-ages him. The movie splits the difference, giving you a Shang Tsung who carries centuries behind his eyes, but still has the physicality to be believable. The explanation that stolen souls are sustaining him is way more elegant than anything the games had offered up to that point. And the morph is held back properly. For most of the movie, Shang Tsung fights as himself. It's only in the final showdown that he transforms into Chan, Liu Kang's brother. Just like in the arcade, the ability is saved for the exact moment it hits hardest. The one big difference is his role in the story. In the arcade, Shang Tsung is mostly passive, presiding from a distance until the final stage. The movie's version schemes, manipulates, and inserts himself constantly. Less final boss, more guy who is always 3 moves ahead. For the game, that's a shift. For a movie, it's the right call. Midway, known today as NetherRealm Studios, eventually brought Tagawa back to voice Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11, nearly 25 years later. His face became the character model. The franchise basically returned to the movie's version of the character, not the other way around. That almost never happens in adaptation. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa passed away on December 4, 2025 at the age of 75. Ed Boon posted a tribute that day and called him one of a kind, then closed with 4 words that belonged entirely to him: "Your soul is eternal." In the game, Reptile is a secret character, hidden behind a very specific sequence on the pit stage. No blocking, a double flawless victory, and finishing with a fatality. Down in the pit, you fight a green ninja who borrows moves from both Scorpion and Sub-Zero. No unique costume, no biography, no ending screen. He's not even playable. In 1992, Reptile was the most talked about secret in arcades. Not because the game told anyone about him, but because people obsessed over him anyway. That kind of mystery is basically extinct now. The internet replaced it, but never quite captured the same feeling. Reptile's whole identity is that he's a mystery. He wasn't in the original screenplay either. Early test screenings showed the second act losing steam, so the producers needed another fight sequence fast. They took the CGI reptile creature already in the film and transformed it into a human combatant. A new set got built in a hangar at Van Nuys Airport, and the whole thing was shot under serious pressure. How serious? Robin Shou fractured 2 ribs when he was thrown into a stone pillar during the shoot. It told exactly one person, Keith Cook, the actor playing Reptile, and asked him not to make contact with his right side. He finished the scene, then went to the hospital, and neither the director nor Shou knew what Reptile's creature form would even look like until after they were done filming. His entrance is announced like a character select screen.
Reptile.
For anybody who unlocked him in the arcade, or played as him in Mortal Kombat 2, that lands differently. The CGI creature looks rough, no way around that. But the human form is fast, fluid, and legitimately threatening. Keith Cook earned that. Every other segment in this video grades the movie against the source material. With Reptile, there was almost nothing to grade against. The game gave the filmmakers a mystery, and they gave it a face.
Kitana.
Kitana debuted in Mortal Kombat 2 in 1993, 1 year after the original game and 1 year before the movie went into production. The filmmakers had a choice: stay locked to the first game or reach into the sequel. They chose to expand, and the character they brought in was Kitana. That tells you something right there. They were taking the source material seriously enough to know the universe didn't end with the first tournament. In the games, Kitana is royalty, princess of Outworld, adopted daughter of Shao Kahn, 10,000 years old. She fights with razor-edged steel fans that lift opponents off the ground and close fights with nasty precision. Her Mortal Kombat 2 story is basically a reckoning. After centuries serving Kahn, the tournament forces her to pick a side. She defects, chooses Earthrealm, and pays for it. Talisa Soto looks the part, but they swapped the iconic blue ninja outfit for black leather. Still, the connection to Liu Kang is handled with enough restraint that it doesn't take over the story. The film also gets one important thing right. It makes her feel ancient, like somebody who has seen this cycle repeat enough times for her words to actually carry weight. But mostly, she's there to explain things. If Raiden isn't available, Kitana fills in the blanks. Aside from that awkward dance with Liu Kang, she never really gets a fight scene of her own. We never see her earn the defection. We never see those fans open up and do the thing that made her stand out in the first place. Still, there's a good instinct buried in all that. By including a Mortal Kombat 2 character at all, the film makes it clear the franchise is bigger than one game. Kitana is the first real sign that this world has somewhere to go after the tournament ends. That's smart universe building. They just forgot to let her fight in it. Before the verdict, two characters deserve a mention. Not because the film did much with them, but because of what they represent, and what almost was. First, Jax. By the time this movie went into production, Jackson Briggs was already a fan favorite. He debuted in Mortal Kombat 2 alongside Kitana, and he's Sonya's partner. Special Forces, built like a freight elevator, and the kind of fighter who never wastes emotion. His gotcha grab, his ground pound, and his no-nonsense style made him one of the most satisfying characters in the sequel. In the movie, Jax shows up in 2 scenes and barely gets any lines. He exists to remind you that Sonya has backup somewhere, and then the movie leaves him behind. Steve James, star of the American Ninja series and a physically commanding performer, was originally cast as Jax. He died from pancreatic cancer in 1993 before production began. Michael J. White was brought in as a replacement, but dropped out to star in the TV movie Tyson. Gregory McKinney eventually got the role and did what he could with almost nothing. McKinney himself died in 1998 from a brain aneurysm, and he was also in his 40s. In the credits, Jax's name is misspelled as Jaxx with 2 X's. Then there's Shao Kahn. If Shang Tsung is the architect of the tournament, Kahn is the reason it exists. Emperor of Outworld, Conqueror of Realms, the entity Shang Tsung answers to, defers to, and fears. In Mortal Kombat 2, he's the final boss. Imposing, and all his taunts became part of the franchise's identity.
You weak, pathetic fool.
He appears for about 6 seconds at the very end, insults the heroes, and then the credits roll. And honestly, that was the right call. Putting Kahn into the main story would have been fan service at the expense of the structure. The tournament belongs to Shang Tsung. Shao Kahn is what comes next. The problem isn't that he's missing, it's those 6 seconds. Frank Welker voices him, which is fantastic on paper, but the visual doesn't really communicate what Kahn is supposed to be. The execution feels like a placeholder. That conversation belongs to a different movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which tried to cash that check and failed in just about every direction imaginable. So, did the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie understand the games? It depends on what you mean by understand. What the movie absolutely understood was the feeling. The weight of the tournament. The sense that these fighters weren't just competing, they were carrying an entire world on their backs. And that never stopped being exciting. Paul W.S. Anderson was a real fan who played Mortal Kombat in London arcades before he ever sat in a director's chair. And that love shows up in the finished film. Tagawa as Shang Tsung, Robin Shou as Liu Kang, Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage. Those are performers who found the soul of their characters and committed to it. Bruises, broken ribs and all. Here's where it lands. Atmosphere. Completely delivered. If you were 17 in August of 1995, like I was, the movie hit almost exactly the way the arcade did. That's not an accident. That's craft. Design. Mostly strong. The characters look right and the techniques are recognizable. Most of the misses come from the limits of a 1995 PG-13 budget. Mythology. This is where it starts to wobble. The characters whose identities depend on relationships and history, not just visuals and moves, are the ones the movie struggles with the most. And yet, 30 years later, Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa is still Shang Tsung in our hearts. The soundtrack went platinum, the first electronic dance music album in history to do that. And Christopher Lambert, a god of thunder who paid his own way to show up and then bought everyone dinner when it was over, is still part of the movie's legend. For a lot of us, that's more than enough.